All right, guys, this is episode 28. We got Liam Mercer here, a great guy for us. I think he graduated in 2014. Is that correct?
Yeah, 2014, a little while ago now.
Wow.
Good.
Sorry, why do you always look before and then come on? It's like watching the second part of Jeopardy.
What's the question? What's the question, D?
You knew it was 2014 because you looked prior.
I swear on Luca that I just did the math in my head because he was after Scotty. I knew that, and Scotty was 2013. Keep it up, and Marina will be my co-host for the remainder of the episodes.
I think I was there for, your first 4 years at Greeley. I think I was, the class that took you all the way through.
Yeah, Billy, Liam, who else was in that class?
Mitchell.
Billy, Liam, Mitchell. That was the class that was the first 4-year group. And Liam came a long way. Liam, so every, and I'm sure Coach Marino, Coach Chabels have some good questions, but everyone would pretty much start. How'd you get into wrestling in the first place?
You know what? I saw my brother do it in high school and when I was in middle school. So I started in middle school and then, I liked it. So I kept going with it. And then when I got to high school, then it was just full throttle. That was my main sport.
It's a lot of fun.
He follows the suit too because he's a big, long wrestler.
Oh, yeah. You know what, though? Uncommon to long wrestlers, I wasn't very good with my legs. So, I didn't do a lot of leg wrestling.
No, Mitchell. That was the Mitchell thing there. But it's hard for me to think back to, Liam's freshman year. I remember your senior year really well, and I have a couple matches that you probably don't even remember that I'm going to bring up. But that I did look, just to remind myself. And I was like, oh, crap, I do remember that match. What was your freshman year like when you first kind of made that transition onto the varsity team? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was mostly just trying to fight for a spot to wrestle. I believe I was mostly JV on freshman and sophomore year, and then, junior, senior year was varsity. But, JV was just trying to fight for spots. I was second string at 145, I think I started at, and just kept pushing, wrestling all the varsity wrestlers.
Who was ahead of you, Liam? I don't remember.
I think Mike Nadler was the starting spot. I think I wrestled right behind Mike Nadler, and then I can't remember. There might have been Ben something. I forgot what his last name was.
Ben Perlmutter.
Yeah, I was also wrestling with him.
How about Ben?
He was a little bit older than me, so he still had some strength, but I can beat him now.
I
hear from him. He's he's overseas teaching English.
Yeah, he was in I want to say Vietnam or Cambodia or somewhere.
Yeah. His parents are really great people too.
Yeah, we're lucky in that sense. We'll get into the Mercers too because they're great people. But what's interesting to me, John, those three people, Coach, Liam, Nadler, and Ben, all great kids, but Liam ended up being probably the most successful of the three. And we were pretty tough, I guess, for a period back then. We're still tough, but it's just I didn't realize a guy like Liam, a freshman like Liam, is somebody that he's a tough kid. He's ready to go. Let's get him in the lineup, And I didn't realize that his freshman year he was behind somebody. That I totally forgot. And sophomore year too, Liam, who were you behind sophomore year?
I was wrestling 152, so I was behind Brace Porter.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and then, I went up one weight class every year, 145, 52, 60, 70.
Well, let's add to the list of people that Liam ended up being a little bit more successful than. That's Brace Porter as well. No offense, Brace, if you're tuning in. But anyway, so do you remember, so let's talk a little bit about your freshman sophomore year. Even though it was JV, was there anything that stood out, like a fun win or something that was exciting, or maybe something that hooked you in that was I really like this, and I'm going to give it my all?
Well, once I got to the JV sectionals, I know it wasn't as serious as actual varsity sectionals to go to states and everything, but I think I still have the medal. I was just cleaning out my room over coronavirus, and I saw, third place at JV sectionals, and I was like, well, damn, this is pretty cool. So I kept it up there. But once I think that might have been freshman year, Marino was there with us, and I can't remember if it was freshman or sophomore year, but I took third place, and I was like, well, I could beat these kids. I just had to try harder, and that's one of my regrets. I didn't try hard enough, but man, that's what really got me into it. Once you get a trophy and you're like, shit. Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
You're like, man, I can do this, and then that was it.
I love how what he said, and both you coaches, you guys jump in on this especially. I love how he said like he was mad that when he was younger he didn't try hard enough. And haven't we said it a million times? And Liam ended up being tough. Like Liam's senior year at sectionals, I think I used the phrase like he literally threw the kitchen sink out there. Like he went.
You got hosed twice.
Oh yeah, and there's a funny story on that too, but we'll get to that because there's something in there. But like you never hear somebody say, "Hey, I wish I didn't work as hard as I did." Right. And it's fun when guys like Liam and, Billy Marino said it when he came back. Unfortunately, we can't get him on here because he's traveling the world with was he with the Coast Guard?
Yeah.
So he's in like Egypt right now. So
Mercer Marines.
Yeah, I think that's what he's doing. Yeah. So, but like we can't get him because he's in Egypt right now. But he said the same thing when he came back that he wished, he went a little harder. But, Liam was tough. And what was your guys' first memories maybe of Liam? Because, Coach Marino, he said you were at JV Sectionals with him, so you have some nice early memories. DeBellis, do you remember when he was first coming on? Like, you guys speak on maybe your first impression of Liam Mercer.
Go ahead, Coach.
Okay. Liam was a tough kid. He wrestled. First of all, he was just enjoyable to be around. He could talk to a grown-up like he could talk to one of the kids on his team. He was respectful. And he reminded me of me in a little bit of ways. Like he didn't love school, but he loved being around the team and he loved going wrestling and he loved his sport. Like I think for a lot of us, that was the same thing. Like, school was there, but you lived for after school, for the cafeteria and for PE class, and then your after school sport. And you did what you had to do. And I always got that sense from Liam. And I don't know, I always felt like there was a connection there. But again, a tough wrestler. And I think, like he said, if he got more committed into the wrestling, could have been something tremendously special. Had a nice career for us. But like he said, the first taste of it, once you win, you want to win forever. It's hard to be, it's hard to get to that top pinnacle, because it takes a lot of work to get there. And it sounds silly, but it's easy to lose and just get caught in that track. And the fact that he got that taste and wanted to get there, and he had a tough run, a weight class every year. We have a lot of kids that can stay similar, and they know their competition year in and year out. But this kid went through a lot of different wrestlers, and, he did very well, I think.
Coach D.
Well, I just remember Liam being very athletic and very tough, so he liked the grind. He loved the grind. I agree with Coach. I think I had Ella in class as well. And Ella was just, really personable, really like just, they're the kind of people you want to hang out with after high school, because they're just great people. And Liam had a great career for us. It was great. You guys want to see Nikki's haircut real quick?
Yes. Stud.
Nice.
Looking good, bro.
Lily.
we might have to put Jake's wrap up here too later.
I know, it's so funny.
He's so good. But
yeah, Liam, awesome, man. It's great to see you. Great to see that you're doing really well out there. And I remember some of those big matches.
Oh, there's some good ones in there. But he I think I was doing teaching with you, Coach Marino, when his sister was in our class. But we would like see Liam and he'd pop in and it was fun. It was fun doing teaching that year because I had all the guys that we were coaching like in the same building. It was cool to like see them around and bust their chops a little bit and all that. And now thinking back, I can't think of a time, and we pushed hard back then. I mean, we still push hard, but it was a little different maybe back then. I can't remember a time that Liam thought what I was trying to do or Coach DeBellis or Coach Marino was trying to do. I think he was always, I might have pestered him a little bit about the off-season stuff and, things of that nature. But when it was time to go to practice, like really practice, I don't think there was a time that I was ever like, Liam, pick it up. What are you doing? I don't think that ever happened. Why don't you speak a little bit about that experience, Liam, of like, how you were able to like focus and grind and practice and work hard?
Well, I mean, I think one of the best parts about wrestling was the great shape I got into. Like, if you just keep pushing yourself harder and harder. I mean, my senior year, I wrestled at 170 and I got certified at 169. I mean, I had no body fat on me at all, so, and I was just in great shape. I could outrun anybody. We were outrunning the soccer team. We were outrunning the basketball team. When I was on, I did football in the off season just to have fun. And I remember we were sitting there doing a push-up contest and everybody was in a circle. and everybody went down, and then the coach would say down, up, and kids were dropping left and right. And then it's me and one other kid, and he's shaking, and I'm just sitting there going up and down. And finally, it was Boniello, I think. And he just looked at me, and he's, the last kid dropped, and I wasn't even shaking at all. And he was like, well, let's see how many you can do. And, I did like maybe 15 more. And then I was like, well, I'm done. But, I think just the harder you grind, the stronger you get. And, you just show up on everybody, and you can really, accomplish great things once you're in good shape.
It's crazy. Wrestling is so different than anything else. It really is. There's nothing there.
There is no other sport like this, as far as that can be done in an interscholastic school setting, where you are going full strength against someone else who's going full strength. You can't weight train for it. You can a little, but there's nothing like actual wrestling practice where you're getting the offense, someone's getting defense. Although one person's, we tell them it's 60-40, 70-30, whatever we want it to be, an offensive or defensive go. But there's nothing like wrestling in which you are battling against someone. And it's people don't realize that who have never wrestled. They can't appreciate that.
I mean, that was one of my favorite parts about the sport. It's a team sport, is where you want your team to win, but it's you versus one other guy. It's who's going to come out on top. And that's where, working hard and practicing, conditioning and everything. I mean, of course, you guys pushed us pretty hard a lot of the times, but, at the end, we had better conditioning than a lot of people. And that's what really, gets you on top. Once you know that you kind of broke the kid that you're wrestling, and you're like, oh, well, that's a piece of cake. I got this now. No matter how tired you were, your mentality just 100% changed. You're going at it in the last 30 seconds. You just sit there, and the kid finally broke, and you're like, well, all that hard work and conditioning, push-ups, sit-ups, whatever it was, those 5-minute ab workouts we did with Tatora, every single thing, it just helps you beat them. And then, you could break the kid in the last 5 seconds and throw him and win. And, I think that was the harder you push in practice, the better you're going to do in the matches. And as soon as you break someone, then your mentality just goes through the roof. You're like, oh, I'm not even tired anymore. I can do this.
Yeah.
I love it. He really was that guy too. And it just was for a fun thing, Liam. I was like, well, this is basically where this all came from, quarantine, and we're bored. And we were like, I think one day I called DeBellis. I'm like, we should interview some of our past guys. And then that day we had Matt Schreiber on, and it was a blast. And we've been going ever since. But, another board thing, I made like an all-decade team. And you fell honorable mention right there. So close. The guy that I put on there was Aaron Walk, state champ at 170. So it's kind of hard
I could.
but you still, I basically put 18 people, in 10 years, and again, Liam wasn't a year-round guy, and that's not a knock. I mean, we talked to Nicky Phillips the other day, and he did a phenomenal job for us. Same thing. He played football too, wasn't a year-round guy. But when it was time for wrestling season, they did the best they can. And just because I love the sport a lot, and I'm a guy that's a year-round type person for wrestling, doesn't mean that's the be-all, end-all. And you can't get a good experience, and you can't help the team. And Liam certainly helped the team. So why don't we jump into junior year, the transition to being the varsity guy? Do you remember something happening different? Like, what was maybe a switch that flipped that kind of got you to jump that little level, to be like, all right, I'm one of the guys now. I'm in here.
Well, of course, when you're on JV, your match doesn't, it matters in your sense that it matters for you and your wins, but for the team to win an actual match, it doesn't matter as much. And then when you get on varsity and you're on, the lineup through the weight classes, and your team depends on you to, get that pin for 6 points, get a win, you really got to work harder. And that was the one thing that really changed my mentality was, I got to get points for the team. I'm out there for me, but it's still a team sport in the fact where, when we wrestled Fox Lane, we wanted to beat Fox Lane. And the only way we're going to beat Fox Lane is if each person stepped up and did their job and got the points to win that match. And you get the points for your team. So getting points for your team, it really helps you, it just helps you feel good and everything. And that was probably the biggest driving factor for me to get better, that, I wanted to win myself, but I'm not going to let my team down regardless, Do
you remember, Liam, who was it before you and who was after you in the lineup?
Mitchell jumped around. So I can't remember. I think I was, we were almost junior year. We would go back and forth, and Mitchell was a better wrestler. So I think he was, 152, 160. So if there was someone who was a tougher match, he would jump up and get that one. And if there was a closer match, then you'd put me there. It was all based on who you guys thought was going to get the most points for the team at the time and where we needed the points. So Mitchell and I jumped around back and forth between those two.
Was it a benefit having a guy like Mitch around your weight? That helped?
No, Mitchell's still my best friend. I called him the other day and I was just talking to him. That's, then he was telling me about these interviews, but when we see each other, it's still, we still wrestle
I want to know about the scorpion thing he's all into. What happened that day? It's still undisclosed at Oswego when Brock was cracking up about him watching a scorpion fight a crab or something. Like, did anybody have like the inside scoop on Mitchell's psyche that day and kind of what was happening, or was that?
I don't, but I'll get it and I'll let you know, and you can talk about it on one of these next ones. I'll ask.
Liam, have you ever heard of Joe Rogan?
Yeah,
we're pretty much that right now. So,
nice,
well, he's got a couple extra followers than us, but it's
but we're there. We're pretty much there.
The funny thing is, people have come up to me, like random people. I saw your father on the side of the road towards.
Yeah, you told me.
This random guy goes, "I recognize you from the videos," and I'm like,
"Some random guy."
Well, it was a guy. It was a guy that was.
It was a picket line, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I busted it. They were calling me a scab. I was like, "What?"
You got a scab. Yeah, that's what they meant. But Liam, what you said, let's build on that. Marino and Coach Abel's jump on this too, because I really feel like it's the same true for coaches, right? Like, I see Coach Marino a lot. He comes to a lot of the matches and supports us, but he has a coach for like 2 years or so now, 2 or 3 years. But every time we talk, it's like we're back in the same place. Like we came back where we left off, kind of thing. And I think that's like a special relationship that you get from a lot of sports, every sport really. But I think wrestling kind of builds it really extra in a sense. Where if we ran into Liam Mercer, like I know we're doing a Zoom right now, but if we ran into him, I think we would have the same conversations we had when he was a senior in high school, except he's a little bit grown and more mature now. I think that like there's something special about the bond maybe that you guys go through in a sport like wrestling. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, I wrestled Mitchell every single day. We were almost, still today, we're almost identical body sizes, body shapes, and, wrestling him every single day. And the only time we ever switched was when we switched partners. That was it. He was my partner. I was his partner. And, today we still hang out left and right. It's always not going to be, it's always never going to not be the same. If I don't see him because I'm off in Jackson Hole, Wyoming for the summers, Nantucket for the winter, or sorry, other way around, Nantucket for the summers. But,
where are you right now?
Nantucket.
Oh, okay, you're all right. All right.
Yeah, but I haven't seen Mitchell in, I don't even know how long, but I called him up on the phone and it was back to just, messing around. No, like nothing ever changed at all. So the friendships you build when you actually are wrestling someone and pushing them further and further is like no other. I don't talk to many more people on the football team. I have maybe one or two friends on the football team, but no one's as close as Mitchell from wrestling. That was it.
Coaches, you guys, would you say there's something in there with that? I don't know. I feel maybe I'm always biased to wrestling, so it's kind of hard for me to have a real opinion. I feel like.
I think you're friends with people that you do a job with a common goal. So I'm friends with all the teachers at work because we're in there doing a common goal. High school wrestling, I'm still friends with a lot of those guys. College wrestling, still friends with a lot of those guys. We do Zoom calls and it's hilarious. People are just breaking on each other and having a great time. I think it's a special bond when you have a common purpose and you're working your tail off to get it and you're pushing each other.
I'll tell you one thing I'd like to say about it is Mitchell and I got into a lot of scraps. You get heated and, if one person does a move that hurts and, you fight back and you get pissed off at each other, but that only builds the friendship more, I think, in the end. You get pissed off at one day and the next day you come back and it's like nothing ever happened again.
I love that. We need a little more of that. We had a lot of that back then where it was almost a little bit like, but Coach Marino, same thing. Cause I want to hear because you were a big big wrestling guy now, but when you were younger, you played college baseball. It was a little different, right? And I'm sure you're friends with a lot of those guys. What's your experience with that?
I think it's certainly true. It's the bonding through the battles. You know what each other is going through. So you are better bonding when you're battling each other, because when push comes to shove that your buddy either dogged it or worked their tail off. And that pushes each other. And when one person sees it, it's infectious. In wrestling, you can't help to have that. Other sports, you can take plays off. You could, you can make it look like you're doing something in a drill. You can go through the motions. As a coach, you can tell, and they'll tell you, no, I did everything I needed to do. And then there's nothing like being put to the battle of the actual match, and that's that. As they say, the proof is in the pudding. And what's special about wrestling, every match is like its own event. Whereas football, play after play after play, baseball, each inning could be different, and some is not so much, some innings, a lot of action. But in wrestling, each kid is really a team. There's 15 teams that win a state championship in large school and small school. Each weight is its own team. And you can be, the best kid on a team that's not good, and you can be a state champ. And it's special because when even that happens, oh my God, does that team rally around that one kid too? It's really cool to see. And wrestling's different in that aspect. It is really cool. And they live and die with each other on the mat. And like I've always said, you take part of their win. You take part of their loss as their partner. And I think they feel that. And I think that's why they bond so tight like that, because they're battling.
And the partner is, like you said, Coach, the partner has so much to do with, like Liam had a lot to do with Mitchell's success and vice versa. So
Yeah.
out there, just exactly to your point, like I could see that being something. And Liam, you could speak on this in coaches too. Nate Kaufman brought this up. It might have been Kaufman. It was a really good point. Where if you're at like a football game or something, football's great. You'll get the crowd, they're screaming, all the kids are there because it's like a gathering of sorts, right? Like everybody knows to go to the football game. That's what they do, right? But in a wrestling match, right, we might not get the biggest crowds, but when we do have a big crowd or it's a rival match and it's back and forth, the reactions and that are so much more intense than any other sport I've ever seen, right? Like if Liam Mercer's down by a point and we need to win the dual meet here, him and get the win, and he gets that takedown in the last 20 seconds, people are going to lose their minds, right? And I don't think you see that like in other sports where like coaches are like losing it and people are basically on the mat. And I don't know, like we can't really market it much better than we do, but I really feel like if people saw what was happening in these wrestling matches, they'd be like, geez Louise, this is exciting.
Well, I mean, I'd like to say one thing about that is it's like, if you're in fourth quarter in football and you're down by a field goal and you kick that one field goal and, you win and game's over right there. It's like that every single time. That one feeling where you have to wait a whole football game to watch 30 seconds and watch them kick a field goal. And granted, that one field goal could be pretty boring. The whole stadium erupts. In wrestling, every single time, you could do one move and everybody's like, there you go. And
coaches are like pointing and yelling and like
you get it in every match, you get it in every period, and you even get it, every second to second. Things happen so fast in wrestling compared to every other sport. In baseball, you hit a home run and you're like, wow, that's awesome. And that happens. I mean, I don't know how often that happens. Not very often, I would assume.
Not enough.
I don't know. I mean, unless you're Aaron Judge, I guess. But, I think in wrestling it happens much more often, and it's a lot more exciting to watch.
Do you guys think coaches, like after a big match, right, after a big dual meet, my voice will be gone, or pretty much. Like my voice will be raspy and I'll be like dead. And, Coach Marino crushes it with baseball, and Coach Kern's a great football coach. But you think game after game, they're like trying to get their voice back? Like, it's like we're literally like there, like on it, and like to Liam's point, when you hit a home run, we get a chance to kind of relax as he's hitting each base. And we're like, all right, that was really cool, but let's gather and we're back at it. But like Liam, Liam could win a close one and then Mitchell's up next and it's another barn burner, and it's just chaos almost. It's almost controlled chaos. you know. But you guys can speak up the meat aspect a little bit.
I would say definitely baseball is more cerebral, right? You're taking more time. Football, they're probably yelling just as much, up and down both sides of the ball. But wrestling, it is different. And think about the kid on the team. We'll mention no names, but the kid that doesn't normally win matches. And when they win a match, because at the end of the match, the referee raises your hand, not the whole team's hand. Each match is like that. And each kid wants to get to that win. And when there's a kid who's worked his tail off, but just maybe doesn't have it, maybe finds a way to lose instead of finding a way to win. When that kid wins a match, the other guys in the team go nuts. I mean, it's great. The way the team rallies around each other, what the coaches do in wrestling, it's great. And it is, 6 minutes each match of you yelling your head off. It's exciting, and it's not really to abuse the official. It's the excitement of each kid.
And how the team gets behind him. I love it. Like you said, Coach, to your point, and I know I blab a lot, Liam. I told you I kind of can't control myself. I get excited and I can't stop. Just what happens. But, when somebody that's not supposed to win, maybe when Liam was a sophomore and he got into the lineup there and got a nice win, the boys are loving that. When Izzy got her first win, I'll name names, I don't really care. When Izzy, because she ended up being a superstar. When she went and got her first win, the crowd, the team went insane for her because they were so happy for her. Chris Dwyer, a couple years after you, Liam, when he beat the Arlington kid, when we beat Arlington by like 2 points, random like football players and people from the gym were coming in. That place was electric. But it was almost because they didn't know wrestling, but they knew he was kind of not supposed to win. Like they were all over the place, like flopping around the mat. Next thing you know, Dwyer got his hand raised. He was like, "Oh, me? Nice." Like, it wasn't like, So Liam, just to snowball off that, this might be harder for you, but do you have a memory from a specific duel for you that, stands out?
We had one wrestler that, so me sitting in the stands, we had one wrestler, he was a year above me, and he would only go in for the headlock throw. He'd walk into the mat and, walk up like this and try and get the throw. And if he didn't get it, usually got taken down because he wasn't low. But, there were some times where he grabbed it and threw and you were not getting out of it. But we all knew it was coming. And when he threw it and it actually worked, it was electric in the whole entire place. Everything was just rough.
I think I know who that was. Was that that kid Jason?
No, Nick.
Nick. Not Nick Phillips.
No, Gross. Nick Gross.
Oh, Nick Gross. Yeah.
Holy cow. Man,
right, I wasn't naming names, but he would come in like that and just try and throw it, and he'd get taken down. But man, when he locked it and he got it, he'd pin kids, and it was everybody else was just excited. It was awesome when he did it.
Liam, we're not Joe Rogan quite yet, so I don't know if Nick Gross is watching this, so it's fine. But I have one more question before I talk about your senior year, and then Coach Marino and Coach Abellis have any other questions. I want to talk about your senior year sectionals because to me it was a good run, even though it wasn't.
Well, I had that one. I got what do you call it? They invited me to the Eastern States, and when I was at Eastern States, I was wrestling that kid from California, and I got one of those diseases. Man,
well, you were messed up the whole year, but we'll get to that, the whole section run, because you were tough as crap anyways. Like, and there's a stat that you might not know that I think is pretty interesting, but you might know because you're a competitor and you probably know. But what was the relationship with you and your brother being on the team together? Did you like that, or was it like a little bit of a pain in the neck? Did you feel like you kind of had to get out of his shadow? Like, what was that like whole thing? How was that?
It was good. We never were really the same weight. He was always a little bit bigger than me in high school. Now, I got 6 inches on him and, 30 pounds. But in high school, we were never really the same weight. But he was he's 2 years older than me. So he was on varsity when I was on JV. So sitting down watching, I just had, I just wanted to be there wrestling. And it made me just want to be on varsity more. It made me want to push myself farther and get into the position that he was in.
Did you guys ever get home and talk about like wrestling a little bit, and like, or did you guys kind of leave it at practice and then once you got home it was?
No, we definitely talked about it a little bit. We always had family dinner, so when we were sitting down for dinner, it came out. But after that, it was pretty much just at practice.
You guys,
and then, when he was a senior, seniors are allowed to drive to school. So, he would drive me home, obviously. And on the way home, we would talk about it.
Nice. Zabellis, Marino, you guys got anything before we hit senior year sectional tournament?
It's funny because I was going to ask him about the brother relationship as being one of the only brothers that I can remember on the team. I mean, there had to be more, but these two are sticking out in my head. So I'm thinking about, the brother relationship on the team, on the mat, as opposed to at home. Did you guys wrestle around at home? Did you do stuff? How was the sibling rivalry amongst amongst you guys? That was.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, like any siblings, there was fighting, and he was always a little bit better than wrestling. So, it wasn't don't poke the big bear, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
now it's a different story, He's but there's always a rivalry between siblings, and when you get into wrestling, it's it's a different type of fighting. It's not just two brothers going at each other who don't know what to do. When you both know how to wrestle, it becomes a wrestling match in your kitchen or something like that.
Thanks for pulling them off. D, you got anything before you hit sectionals? Because there's other topics.
I got one thing about Mitchell and him being, momentum is a big thing in any sport. You get a big win and then it kind of snowballs into the next big win. Did you feel that when Mitchell wrestled before you, that was that better for you, or did you feel like wrestling before him?
Well, either way, whoever wrestled first, during warm-ups, we always warmed each other up. Mitchell, he was a little more technical than me. So if I wrestled before him, he would always be sitting there telling me, he knew a lot more wrestlers than me. And when I wrestled, because we were very similar weight classes, he would wrestle them maybe before or in the past. And he would tell me what to watch for, what to hit. And wrestling so much in practice, he would tell me what my best moves were. So I'd be like, look, I'd just stick to your high crotch to double, or, half arm bars. He would psych me up in the moment. So I actually, I'll take that back. I liked wrestling before him because him being a more technical wrestler, he could almost coach me through it. Not that you guys weren't doing that, but you were watching the matches while, we were trying to warm up, and Mitchell is really, he was just like another coach in the corner. It was just before I got onto the mat. So having him after me was really helpful.
That's come up every single interview almost, where people said, there's multiple coaches, because we are focusing on one match. That match ends, a new match comes in.
Yeah.
So we have to almost reset 15 times, and still try to game plan and think about stuff like that. But it's great to have guys like Mitchell, guys like Liam.
We need guys to step up. Izzy did a really good job with that this year, actually. She did a really, really good job with that. But we need a couple people like, what Liam's saying, because like you said, D, we'll be in the middle of a match and we can't like, there's times when one of our kids is blown out another kid and I could get up and I could run over there and be like, hey, you need to make sure that you're doing X, Y, and Z. And I run back to the chair. But like, if you have a guy like Mitchell or Liam that's able to say, hey, like, kind of focus, that definitely helps.
When we're sitting there watching a match and we look to the right and our 132-pounder sitting on the bench and it's, 126, that's scary that they're not warming up yet. It's like, okay, you need leaders like Liam and leaders like Mitch. Pretty much everybody that's been successful is selfless. You have to be. So you're focused, like Iron Frank said, he was selfish for his career, but, when he wasn't wrestling, he was thinking about the rest of the team and getting them better as well.
I mean, one thing about being selfless, there were definitely times where, I would go up and I'd try to talk to Mitch if he was wrestling before me, or, if I was wrestling before him, we'd go up and try and give opinions. And, I know I'd turn Mitch away. I'd be like, you know what, just shut up, get out of my way. I got this. I'm going to go in there. You got to have that mentality. Like, just move. I'm doing it. And I know Mitch, I tried to help Mitch out too. And he would just be like, get out of my way. Let me do it.
I love it. I love that.
Open the gate. Let's go.
Yeah. There's times where, you just got to be by yourself and you just got to psych yourself up. And there's other times where you need that one other person who's right there next to you to help you out and push you through it.
Yeah.
It's good for somebody to almost take like a mentor role, but like at the end of the day, it's you out there, so you got to figure it out. But so senior year sectionals, and we could talk a little bit about other stuff in between. But So I looked up the bracket. I remember very clearly saying to Pete, like we talked after day one or whatever, and I remember saying that like Liam ended up being out. I think he was 1-2.
He won his first one, which was
No,
he was a lower.
I think he lost his first one, and it was to the kid who took second, and he lost 4-3. So that was the little stat I had because he was right there with those guys. So it was a New Rochelle kid. He lost 4-3. Am I correct, Liam? It was New Rochelle.
Yeah, I think so.
He lost 4-3, and like
Arlington.
he wasn't.
Yeah, I know I lost the first, won the second, lost the third.
And they both were 1-point matches, the third and the first, if I recall. And he
they were really close. I mean, there wasn't any pins going on. It was
he battled, and I clearly remember saying like Liam threw the kitchen sink out there. I was not disappointed. I was disappointed that he didn't have the opportunity to be all section because for him. But as a coach, I wasn't mad at him. I didn't think he left anything on the table there. He was not feeling well for a while there. He wasn't healthy for a while there. And then,
I had 3 weeks of almost no practice. Leading up.
He had molluscum.
Yeah, that's no joke.
It was leading up to practice, and then finally, I got cleared to wrestle, and there was literally like a week and a half before sectionals, and that's those last 3 weeks is where everybody that's where you got to get your cardio, you got to get stronger, mentally stronger, and everything. And I was just sitting there on the mat. So when I got out to sectionals, I definitely tried my hardest, but you really, I wish I could have just pushed a little bit harder.
Well, no, but you did push. My point is that and you could win those matches, even not being at your 100%. A 1-point match, one little thing happens in the match, it's a different match. I mean, it's a 1-point match. But with that being said, like Coach Marino said, that's not an easy thing to recover from. And you lost the section finalist by a point. Then I think you won a tough one in the wrestlebacks. I think all 3 of the matches were close. You won a tough one in the wrestlebacks, and then you lost a tough one in the wrestlebacks. And and Liam, you could correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe you don't remember, but I very clearly remember, and maybe it's one of those memories you make up in your head when you think about a scenario so many times, but I remember saying that, kept talking about how Liam literally threw the kitchen sink out that day. And I was happy at the way that he competed. And it goes back to Izzy in the blood round this year, and it goes back to Nick Phillips in the blood round his senior year, where, they lost, but I was proud of them. And I think at the end of the day, if you know that you gave it your all, you could look in the mirror and be proud of yourself. And yeah, you might think about it here and there, and you kind of wanted to be all sectional, all these things, but you were a man that day. And I think that's something that, not everybody could say they ended their career in that fashion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was, at the end of the day, I cried a little bit. I was pissed off I didn't make it because, my senior year record, I think I was 16-4, and I only lost a couple hard matches. But, I knew, the next day I came in and I was just pissed off I didn't win, but there was nothing in my mind that said I didn't try my hardest. You just got to leave it all out there on the mat, and especially in finals when you're a senior. If I knew I wasn't going to wrestle in college, so that was my last wrestling match, and you just got to push as hard as you can. So there was no doubt in my mind I tried as hard as I can, and it's just, disappointed that I lost. That was it.
Yeah.
I remember being disappointed for you, not for us, not for the team, not for anybody else, but for you. And I remember you getting off that mat, and your face was just like, not like that I don't care, but it was like I did everything I could, and you did. And like you said, you cried a little. But everybody doesn't earn the right to cry. Some kids cry because I think they know they didn't do everything they could.
I'm sorry.
You can cry when you know you did everything you could, and you did that. And that was always the sense from you. You were pretty stoic after your matches. You'd be happy, wouldn't get too happy. You'd be sad, wouldn't get too sad. You had that look on your face like, it was business. And I was very proud to always have you around, always enjoyable. And you got a lot out of what you did. And, like we said before about teams led by kids, like bad teams are led by no one. You can be a good team led by your coach only, but the best teams, the great teams are led by their players. Mm-hmm. And the players or our wrestlers always did a great job. And, fantastic.
Damn, Marino, we gotta write that one down for Anthony Marino. That was a good quote right there.
Oh yeah, he stole that from me. I told him that last week.
Oh crap! But yeah, just Marino, to go on the crying point, right? Because I cried after I've lost before too. Like it's such a hard sport where like your adrenaline's all up and then you dump and then you see like, especially in Liam's situation where you gave it your all, and it's tough. It's a tough one. And as a coach, it breaks my heart to see those kids walk off the mat like that. Liam in that situation, Izzy this year, because I know she gave it her all and that crushed me. On the flip side, when a kid is teary-eyed and I know they didn't give their all, I want them to get the heck away from me. Like, I don't want them to hear me. I don't want to even make eye contact with them because it's like, I love all the kids. They're all great kids, right? But like, dude, you didn't give it your all. Don't bring those crocodile tears near me. Like, go take that somewhere else. I'm not buying it.
And I know I did. I'm no longer involved. I still like to think I'm somewhat involved, but I'm no longer involved. We tell them this, and I've always told them this. You want to look back because you can't lie to yourself. You can lie to your teammates. You can lie to your coaches, but in your heart of hearts if you did it or you didn't. And when you come off that mat for the last time, and this isn't the pros or the elite level, kids aren't leaving their shoes on the mat. When you leave the mat for the last time, you got to know that you did everything you could. And it does drive me nuts as a coach of any sport to see kids with the fake tears or the tears because they see their teammates tearing up. But some, like I said, some earn it, some don't. And we want to make sure that everybody earns their tears because it should be sad. It should be sad. And it doesn't have to be the end of life as we know it because life goes on, but you're going to carry it with you for the rest of your life. And we've said that in interview after interview and every practice, or at least weekly in practice, we would remind kids that. And Liam, like everyone else, is saying how much they remember practice, how they still, like if he didn't see Mitchell in a month, a year, whatever it may be, they can still pick up and boom, like that, they're having those conversations. And that's what it's all about. And you will remember it. These things will make you a better person in life. It doesn't matter your high school wrestling career, but it does, because that's going to shape you for the rest of your life. And that's why athletics are so important. That's why being a good teammate and having good teammates is important. And Liam was a great teammate.
I'd like to build on that, how it shapes the rest of your life. And I actually just wrote it down because I didn't want to forget it. But one of my points I was going to make is throughout all my sports, wrestling is the only one I think I learned something through in life. When I was at football practice, I was sitting there and I was like, I'm going to take this one off. And I'd walk out and do whatever. And in life, if you do that, you miss opportunities. In wrestling, it was 100% of the time. And, now I don't even take days off working. I mean, last summer I worked May 21st until September 6th without a day off. And most of those days were 12-hour days. And, people see that in you and they realize how hard you work. Even if your skill set's not great, you're going to build on it because you want to work harder. And I think wrestling gave me that skill set to work as hard as I can with things that, are going to help me get through the rest of life, such as jobs. And when people see that you're willing to work that hard and not slack off, and, I hear this joke, don't give 100% at work, give 50%. So when you give a little bit extra and you're at 75%, they think you're awesome. And then when you don't do well and you're at 25%, you're having an off day. But I mean, yeah, it's one of those little memes going around, but that doesn't get you anywhere in life. The only thing that gets you somewhere is working hard. And that's, I learned that in wrestling. And I think that, that's what I attribute to wrestling. It's going to help me through the rest of my life. And, people see that in me. And I've had 2 jobs where after the first day, my boss has come up to me and been like, you know what? I want to give you a raise. I think you're doing a great job. You work hard. You don't take any breaks. You just keep going. And I got that from wrestling.
I love it. And really, the balance, I would say, and we could pretty much wrap on that because that was a nice way to friggin' cap this thing off. But I would like to add to that's our goal. We want the Aaron Walks to win state titles. We want the Jacob Freres in the state finals. And, we wanted Liam Mercer to be all section that year or maybe a section champ. But if he could get that perspective out of the sport, then as a program, we did what we were supposed to do. And it's not for everybody. Not everybody can have the foresight that Liam has. I don't know if I used that word correctly there, but hey, just I'm kind of YouTube now, so I can do whatever I want. But it's really cool that he thinks like that, because wrestling has done that for me. You know, and I love to hear that from a younger guy. I'm sure it's done that for Coach Sabellis, and you know, I take that into my life as a teacher. When I wasn't a teacher, you know, I'm teaching in the Bronx, but you know, some people every once in a while they want to, you know, be whatever, but every day's the same for me. You know, I don't care if I'm getting observed. I don't care if it's, you know, I'm not one of those people that are like, oh my God, I gotta get my lesson together and get observed. It's the same thing every day. And Coach Sabellis and Coach Marino are people like that too. And at least, you know, Coach Marino was just an athlete and he's big into wrestling now, but I think for DeBellis, wrestling probably affected that.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so.
One last thing I'd like to say though.
Good.
Oh, sorry. You know, my boss here, you know, is my boat captain. I'm a first mate, and last year, during the first part of the season when we're not really fishing, we're just kind of setting the boat up, and it's very lackadaisical for most people. Well, you know, I got in and I just wanted to impress my captain and show him that I'm a good worker. And he came up to me and he looked at me in the eyes. He's like, "Why do you work so hard? You got to slow down a little bit." He's like, "There's no rush." And I was like, "Well, you know, I just want to get it done." And he had a list of like 2 years worth of stuff for, you know, just kind of do it here, do it there, whenever. And after the first like week and a half, he was like, "You know what, Liam, I don't even have any more things for you to do. You did them all." It's like, well, there you go.
Awesome. I love it.
But you know what? That is a detriment to you and your work ethic. And like you said, you learned it from wrestling. You believe you learned it from wrestling, but I'm sure you learned that from your parents as well. But here's the thing that I will say. Everybody, and you know, because you went to school there, people, and we've said it, people are under the assumption that if they do not go to a certain school, if they don't get into this program on this year and take this class this year, that their academic life is over and that's going to affect their future. You are going to do well because of you and the life lessons you learned and your work ethic. And you have that work ethic. And that is fantastic that you say that, because, and share those stories with us, because your work ethic is what's going to carry you through. And it's going to get you the raise. It's going to get you the promotion. It's going to get you your own job, you know, whatever you want to do. And you're doing something you enjoy. You are a seasonal person where you do your winter season and you love it. And then you're off to your summer season. And I bet for you, even though it's hard work, it doesn't feel like work because it's fun.
No,
and
not
you
at all.
enjoy it. And you probably laugh at yourself at the end of the day. You're like, I get paid for this. I'm getting paid for this. And I love what I'm doing. It's not work. It's fun. And that's the goal. I wish everybody can do it like that. Because I believe I have that job. You know, I play games daily. You know, we try to teach life lessons through games. People get confused with it. They're like, oh, he's making me exercise or he's making me do this. But when we talk to the class before or after, it's really a life lesson like it would be in practice. You know, we try to talk every day in practice about a lesson in life that you're going to be put through and why you should, you know, value your time in this sport. That's what it's about. And I love what you said. So that was fantastic.
I mean, I think regardless of who tried to teach me life lessons, wrestling did it best.
Yeah.
I like that about you, Liam, because I like wrestling a lot. Anything else you two wanted to say before we wrap it up? Liam, you'll hang on, but I'm just going to stop recording soon.
I would like to say, where did Coach D go?
Well, he texted me. He froze there with that cool smile for a little bit, and then he texted
I thought you kicked him off.
No, not yet. I've been muting him a lot lately. We've been watching Marino. He's been talking a lot of garbage. Like yesterday for Jay, he came on. He's like, "This is episode blah blah blah." That's my job. Like he tried to take my job. He's actually here. He can say goodbye to Liam, then we'll stop recording. I think he's here. I don't know. There All right, D. We're gonna stop recording. Liam, hang on for 1 second. It was a great episode. You're frozen again. You there?
Oh,
And I kick him
he's
out.
on his phone now, I think.